Welcome back to another New Movie Monday here on the Messed Up Movies Podcast, the podcast celebrating movies and filmmakers that embrace the insane, the outrageous, the unhinged, the off-kilter, and the all-around kind of messed up fun you can't take your eyes off of. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Griffey. Again, we are here this New Movie Monday, joined by friend, co-host, and a guy who just recreationally takes his kids into hostile waters to boat.
I don't do that, Alex Dandino, but I have a lot of problems with that being done.
It seems like a day. As soon as I was watching it in the theater, I was like, that's a dandy written all over it. Everybody, we're here because Heath, Sam, myself, we will be in the field actually shooting segments for Mr. Cream Jeans Hidey Hole through a big chunk of this August, trying to wrap up our first feature film. If you want to help us make our first indie film, if you want to support indie horror films, that would mean the world to us. Go to Indiegogo. You have to type in Mr. Cream Jeans because we've been shadow banned because they're cowards who are afraid of big rubber fake penises. Neither here nor there. So go support Mr. Cream Jeans Hidey Hole. Please tell your friends, please. Yeah, you can also find us through Misfit Parade's myriad of socials. You can go support the Messed Up Movies Podcast Patreon. Best way to help this show. Patreon exclusives, votes on the episodes, commentaries, miniseries, all the good stuff. Make sure you go subscribe to Misfit Parade on YouTube. We're easy to get a hold of. We do Reels, TikTok, Shorts, all that fun stuff. Make sure you're sending those to a friend. Let's grow this at a grassroots level. 5-star ratings and reviews. All right. So, Alex, that was kind of a truncated business. We zipped right through it because today we're talking about a movie that has always meant so much to me. A movie that
me too.
I think I may have officially aged out of, right? I think I've hit that Marvel point where you're like, oh, I just don't give a shit about these anymore. And this one hurt me very bad. It's so empty-headed. It's so just sugary drink that you find at a gas station that's not labeled right. And here's the thing. There's one scene. We're talking, of course, about Jurassic World Rebirth, right? It's not lost on me when I get to take my children to see these movies, right? I remember when Jurassic World came out, and I took my kids to see it, and watching my young sons have the same reaction I had to seeing Jurassic Park is not lost on me. There's a beauty and a magic to that. I'm glad it still exists. We actually went and saw the original when they re-released it in theaters. Jurassic Park's been a huge part of our lives. My kids were dinosaur kids, Godzilla kids. It was great.
Yeah.
This was the movie I was like, they need to Old Yeller this franchise. This is the worst Jurassic Park movie that's ever been made. And not because it's the most poorly crafted, not because there's not talent everywhere. This franchise is so criminally uninterested in making Jurassic Park movies rather than Jurassic Park rides. Everything about this movie was offensive to the taste, the eye, the mind. I think we agree, right? There's a scene I wanted to talk to in the middle to start this up. There's the scene where they find the Titanosaurus, right? They're in the grassy fields, and the scientist runs up. He's studying under Grant, and he's like looking at these things. That one scene did take me back, and I got a bit of nostalgia. I got a little choked up. Watching
As
this,
you should.
again, it's the classic watching people see dinosaurs for the first time.
Yeah.
That famous Grant turns Ellie's head in Jurassic Park, and it took me back, and I was like, fuck, I wish that I still felt that way watching these movies for more than just a scene. Go ahead. Sorry, that was a lot. I was very upset.
That scene is like this like death knell. Because I agree. Like I was like, oh. This, let's see, I'd say approximately 2 minutes. This 2 minutes is like the way I always liked Jurassic Park to be. Because, like, everyone should be in awe of dinosaurs. And I think this is the key component that I think is what's missing now. And it's not that, like, we've aged out. Because, like, to me, I don't think it's possible we don't live around dinosaurs. I can't not be surprised or amazed by dinosaurs because they're like, it's the same thing. Like they were animals that lived in our time. Like this is the difference between like my kid loves Godzilla. So we watch Godzilla movies a lot now. So I still love I love watching Godzilla movies. They're tons of fun.
Best.
I'm not like, whoa, Godzilla. I'm like, Godzilla never existed.
Can I pause you for a second? Here's the crazy thing, though. Godzilla has made 40 to 50 movies. Possibly the greatest Godzilla movie ever made.
Just came
out. Just came out and won an Academy Award. So I don't even think you can call this franchise or IP fatigue. This is a pointed stupidity.
So what I was saying was like, so my kid, like, I'm not in awe of Godzilla because Godzilla never existed, and therefore, he could have, I guess, I don't know. But like either way, we have no physical evidence to say Godzilla or a giant ape. These two things definitely existed at one time. So I'm like, the awestruckness of like seeing a dinosaur, that 2 minutes, you're like, oh, that's for us. But it is like this death rattle.
Score, there's like this soft score.
The score comes purely in.
Here's
Jonathan
a little.
Bailey
it's like,
is having.
It's
this,
a guy
like,
saying,
moment.
"Hey, come in this dark corner with me and take like just a bump of nostalgia." And you're like, I don't know this guy, but I'm having a rough night. Maybe this will fix it. And you're like,
this
oh,
is like
that's
somebody,
great.
Yeah, this is like, hey, come to the bathroom stall. There's a guy doing blow. We talked about this like a couple weeks ago. There was this guy at Star Garden who would sell meth in the toilet. Yeah. If you wanted meth, you would go to the bathroom. He was the nicest guy in the world, but if you didn't want meth, you were like, "No, I'm good." He goes, "All right, cool." But if you needed meth, he had it.
If you need it, if you need nostalgia, as you are literally,
if you need a nostalgia bump,
here's the thing. This movie is so offensively god awful bad, right? And again, I think it's god awful bad in the most despicable way, which is,
I agree.
Gareth Edwards directed this. David Cope wrote this. By the way, giving Michael Crichton a post death credit for the worst script ever written is so fucking mean.
Based on there's no character in this movie based on characters.
If you just go to IMDb, saying that Michael Crichton had a hand in writing this, I don't know what causes Evil Dead shit. This could be it, or Return of the Living Dead.
Actually, Michael Crichton. Here's.
Oh, no, it's fine. Go ahead. Sorry, we're both very excitable today.
What I'm saying, what I was going to say is the crazy thing is that Michael Crichton's wife and the estate is trying to sue the shit out of like Noah Wyle for The Pit, but not this. Insane.
We only put his name on dog shit. Giant piles of dino shit.
Okay, now go ahead. I had to say that.
That is so insane. That's a great point. Like they are willing to draw lines in the sand. They're just picking the wrong sand. That's the problem. They're picking the wrong spot of the beach to die on. This is a massive budgeted, all the talent in the world film. This film does not have the problems of, the franchise is withering out, so they're not giving us resources, right? A la a Hellraiser, Leprechaun. This happens in horror movies where it's like, we went from like this big thing to like now we make bargain bin DVD movies. This movie has no excuse to be so insanely stupid, so insanely toothless. And this thing, I don't want to do a whole episode where we just bitch about how much we hate this movie. I don't either.
I really can't.
Because if you like this movie, if you're one of those people that can just purely sit and enjoy a completely vacuous film like this, I don't want to take that from people. I think that's fucking great. And I'll tell you this, I watched it with my kids. They liked it because dinosaur shit. And I was like, that's fucking great. Yeah. My kids are elementary school kids. Perfect.
Right. The reason we went to see this movie was because my kid was like, I want to see Jurassic Park. I was like, all right, cool. And he walked out, thought it was awesome, and I'm like, okay. That's the audience. A 6-year-old who's not paying attention to any plot is the audience.
Yeah. And here's what I kind of settled on, right? We had talked about a couple ways to go at this, right? I feel like there are 3 key components that made Jurassic Park so profound, right? Incredible cast of characters who were believably engaged in an ethical debate, right? John Hammond was not this fucking stuffed suit criminal that we've always had. He was a guy who wanted to create magic and wonder for his grandkids. He wanted the world to be a magical place. In doing so, he may have gone too far, right? That makes sense. You got great characters that debate the efficacy or ethicality. I'm just fucking making up words. I'm fucking flustered and full of caffeine.
Just say ethics.
Yeah, they're debating the ethics of is this right or wrong, right? Real characters who have real fucking substantive debates, right? The dinosaurs. The first time we saw the dinosaurs, we still talk about how the first scenes of seeing them, right? The CG still holds up. There is incredible set pieces in that movie, right? And then again, I think it's the concept. It's what this movie had to say. It's the classic Ian Malcolm, life will find a way. They were so worried about if they could, they didn't stop to ask if they should, right? Those were kind of the key components that made Jurassic Park such an absolute grand slam of a movie, right? It was Jaws with more profound thought, it felt like. And that was great. If you break down this movie, right? Let's start with our human characters in this movie, if we dare be brave enough to call them that. There are a couple problems, I think, with this movie. One, I think when we saw Jurassic Park, and maybe this is because we were young, none of those people were Scarlett Johansson famous, right? I think there is a problem with these Jurassic Park movies that when you just cast Chris Pratt, when you just cast Scarlett Johansson, you are letting us know you're making a fucking ride movie and not a fucking movie. The characters in the first Jurassic Park feel like real people. No one in this movie acts how a human being would act given any of the circumstances.
Right. I mean, yeah, they're movie stars, and I mean at that, let's see, in 1992, let's see, the most famous person in the cast probably at that point was Laura Dern for like fucking David Lynch movies.
I mean, like, Goldblum was big.
No, it was because Goldblum was big, but not big.
He had
like
done
the way
The Fly. He had done now he's like this ironic king of the world. Sam Neill had been in a lot of shit, but he wasn't, like
probably Samuel Jackson was a famous actor.
Yet.
Like these actors were famous, but I think like the key component, I don't know. Like this is my biggest like problem, not my biggest problem with the movie, but the reason that like we walked out and on the way home, like obviously I had to like speak in code because my kid just loved it. He was just like, that was awesome.
My kid too.
See the giant,
I didn't want to shit on it.
The Monstrosities was like, yeah, dude. God. So I told but I said the same thing though. I told my wife, I was like, the biggest problem with the movie is that the story is not about like science or ethics run amok. Like there's no, because the thing that made Jurassic Park unique, like I've said this a lot when we talk about Jurassic Park, or whenever I have a conversation with someone about Jurassic Park, the reason that Spielberg's movie works is not just because Steven Spielberg's a fucking genius. It's because it's the lunch scene. The lunch scene is a 10-minute stop of plot in the film
to
talk about the ethics of what's going on. But not only that, it stops the entire movie for everyone to sit down and actually consider the ethics of what's happening. And like and it's not even about like, oh, Ian Malcolm's making great points and all these other things. Like what it is all these characters are stopping the movie to say, hey, I understand this is millions upon millions of dollars, but you need to understand there has to be a plot here, so all of us have to have a different point of view before we go out into this park. What it can't be is that let's see if I can get this correct. What it can't be is Scarlett Johansson being what I assume amounts to an adventurer of some sort, or a JSOC person, getting paid an exorbitant amount of money by Rupert Friend to basically tour guide a nerd who works at a museum to an island none of us heard of.
Okay, let's not do like all of the problems with the world building and plot right away, because I'm not doing
all the problems. I said I wouldn't do that.
Is interesting though, because
what I'm saying though is that there's no reason. The reason for them to go lacks completely.
Right, and again, I think it's at a character level. What we do is this. I'm an evil guy who wants all the money. Okay. I'm a museum guy who is peer pressured into, because I only know about them and I haven't ran for my life, I'm not a real guy. Okay. And then Scarlett Johansson's like, yeah, I just lost someone and I can't go. Just kidding.
Also
There's
money.
a lot of money. And like you see Mahershala Ali and his crew, and it's like, we just need all the money. This movie, this opening, right? Their version of the lunch, because this movie is unabashedly trying to just do a rehashing of the first movie.
Yeah.
They're trying to, in a shot-for-shot version of, we know that first movie happened, here's a regurgitation of that, right? Their version of the lunch scene is them at that table like, hey, man, we're getting too close with missions. She's like, yeah, my boyfriend died. And Mahershala Ali's like, yeah, my kid died. And I was like, guys, that's not character building. That's you telling us that they're supposed to be sad as we watch them just pirating for money for nothing. It's fucking loot. And then halfway through, the scientist guy's like, or we steal the drugs and we open source them. And I was like, how the fuck do you open source dinosaur blood? You have to go. Anyway, again, the humanity of this movie doesn't exist.
It does the same thing that, like, all of the whatever. I'm not going to get into this part. Really, like, the problem is that there's a lack of understanding, especially for someone like David Koepp wrote the original fucking movie. Like, I think this is, like, the crazy thing is I'm just like, I get it. Like, sometimes you need a paycheck, but I think the problem I have with all of it is the central premise, the reason that the first Jurassic Park is so fascinating is because all these people are sitting around and their lunch having this ethical debate. We all know already, starting in the movie, we already know that there is corporate intrigue. There is corporate greed at stake here. And when you layer this like corporate greed on top of something that's so unimaginable, like a fucking amusement park for dinosaurs, that combined with corporate greed, you're like, oh, something's going to go wrong because somebody doesn't have a thing. Like there's something out of harmony here.
Yes, the real key there is that it's the corporate greed layered on top of a reasonable, I want to bring magic and betterment to the world, right? It is the co-option of what seemingly is an innocent and lovely vision.
Yeah.
Right? And then and he even says, he's like, the only one defending me is the blood-sucking lawyer. We start that movie off with the Velociraptor murder, and no, it's not going to go well. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in a theater watching Jurassic Park if it just ran on time. We get it. We know. But again, it's that co-opting of a beautiful vision. Every single Jurassic Park movie since has been, we need money. We're ruthlessly efficient. The thing they've done for the last, 3 Jurassic movies is the people got tired of seeing dinosaurs. So we're going to now haplessly crossbreed and mutate these abominations.
Well, now
let me stop you here. People go to normal, real-world zoos still. We go to look at fucking bears and tigers. You think people are going to get sick of seeing a fucking
I don't get bored of seeing dinosaurs.
T-Rex? You think people are going to get tired of seeing a fucking Mosasaurus Splashzone show? Are you out of your fucking mind?
Isn't it like one of those things, like the thing that actually, the part that I was like, oh, we're already kind of not on the rails here, was the opening scene when they're driving through New York and they're like, oh, we got a brontosaurus causing traffic. I'm like, nope. Sorry, guys. Like, that would be an amazing thing to see.
That'd be fucking crazy. Yeah, you'd be like, wait, it's not a flash mob, it's a dinosaur? I'm super into
dinosaur?
This.
That's
again,
pretty
the idea
fucking
that
cool.
people are just bored of gigantic... My wife still, every time we drive, she just says every animal she sees out loud because it makes her happy. Cows! Right? Like...
Yeah.
She gets so excited seeing an animal every time we're walking our dog. Bunny, bird. You think if we saw a fucking Titanosaurus that we wouldn't be struck by the majesty, the wonder of these gigantic fucking creatures that against all odds have traversed extinction in millions of years to be in the middle of our city?
There's also this aspect to it too, because that I thought was actually going to get explored. And then Ken was like, no, we don't have time for this.
Low Vegas odds on that.
They were talking about it as like, yeah, there's only like a certain band around the equator that these animals can survive in now because all of them are dying elsewhere. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And literally within like 3 seconds of someone asking, hey, how come they can only survive? Everyone's just, I don't know, it's warm there. And I'm like, oh my God, that's it. That's
it's probably closer to how the Earth was when they lived here. And I'm like, doing a lot of probablys. Is that,
wow,
here's the other thing.
A lot of work on that, huh?
That shit around the equator's called? That's called high-value beachfront property, brother.
No shit.
This is something Jurassic Park's always struggled with after the first one. It would be super easy to fucking kill dinosaurs. Like, we're not sitting in Scarlett Johansson and, like, 4 spelunkers. We're sitting in teams with fucking rocket launchers and heavy artillery and tanks. They are cleansing these fucking islands. They are murdering every one of these. Because the thing is, they can't... Like, a T-Rex can't do shit to a tank. It's going to bite a tank and break. Like, this is one of those things that they've just always struggled with, is we have to find a reason to not have the weapons to fight these things. It's ridiculous. That's sort of the thing.
Well, that's sort of the thing about... And I feel like at this point, what is it, 7? Are we 7 movies into the Jurassic Park franchise now? Like, this is 7 movies.
3 originals...
3 original, 3 sequels, and now, 7.
So this is the 7th? Yeah, 7th, I think.
Yeah. So we're 7 movies in. We've done the, like, military installation Jurassic Park and The Lost World. Didn't work out. That's fine, whatever. Like, we did that sort of, like...
Because those were essentially, like high-priced poachers. That was the big game hunter dude, yeah.
That was Pete Postlewhite doing, like, his greatest... They're doing, like, the greatest Ghost in the Darkness thing ever.
Yeah.
Peter Stormare, who got eaten to death by the tiny ones. Like, again, it's just, like... It's one of those things where you're just watching. Like, again, we were watching it, and I was just like, none of this is like, this is just not for me. Like, because I am no longer.
You don't care about the characters because we're middle aged now.
Yeah, I cared about Grant and Ellie and the kids and Ian Malcolm
Grant
surviving
and Ellie,
and getting off that island.
This is their dream, right? All they can do is look at fossils. And even those people that are dying for this to be a thing where it's a playground to them, they still know that something's wrong. Ian Malcolm is just pure fucking sex and a pill, right? Like, there's something about him that was magic. John Hammond was related. In this, I don't give a fuck. Scarlett Johansson's not acting. She's being Scarlett Johansson. Mahershala Ali is being Mahershala Ali. And then the most insulting thing they add in the midst of this movie, because these are characters who have no real stake beside we want money, and we'll make crimes to get it. And you're like, that's a
most
bad
insulting
start.
Is the family.
Addition of the family. If this, and again, we've kind of been dabbling with a lot of the world building problems. This is a huge one. If there was a place where actual mosasaurs could interrupt sea lanes and eat and attack boats, there is no fucking father on earth who I am supposed to believe is an okay guy. Mahershala Ali's character literally talks about losing a child, and when he picks them up for rescue, he goes, "You brought kids out here?" And I was like, yeah, you just ruined the only other character I thought could be good.
That was actually the only logical part of the movie. I was like, he's the best character now in this movie because he's the only one who's going, what the fuck's the matter with him?
The boyfriend is a huge piece of shit who sucks. They try to save him at the end of the, like, he jumps in to save his girlfriend. You're like, no, he's done. This never works.
Sorry, man.
And then 2 daughters that have no personality. And the fact that we separate this movie into an A and a B, because, again, we're doing Jurassic Park 1, where it's Grant and the kids, and then the people going for the compound. Here's a prime example of the fucking far heights we've fallen, right? The T-Rex scene. Starts off as a pretty cool little...
What T-Rex scene?
She's trying to get a boat.
There's no fucking dinosaurs in this movie.
All of a sudden, she sees a Dilophosaurus. You're like, cool, homage, nostalgia. All of a sudden, she looks over. There's a sleeping T-Rex. She's got to get this boat. She pulls the cord. The raft scene in this movie is so criminally pathetic. There is no fear. There is no tension. The thing, it swims under them, doesn't knock the boat, stops, doesn't... Just the machinations, the childish game of this scene is so bad.
It's so toothless.
And again, to your point, we know it's one of those movies where you go, oh my God, they're not going to kill the boyfriend. They're not going to kill the dad. They're not killing the 2 girls, You're like, they're not going to kill anyone in this fucking family. And I can hear people say they didn't kill Grant and the kids. Cool. When I first saw that T-Rex scene, it felt dangerous. It felt like they could be in trouble. It felt scary. This felt like I was watching The Hobbit. Do you remember the problem between Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit? Was when the little dwarves were all running, going, "Ooh!" And none of them looked like human beings or dwarves anymore. They just were like, almost like weird, shallow Howl-like characters. And then they'd bounce around into barrels and be like, "Oh, I'm in the river now. Oh!" And it was so unbearably childish and pathetic. That's what this scene was. The fucking T-Rex sinks his teeth into the goddamn life raft and it doesn't fucking pop. The T-Rex can't even beat a life raft now, and then he just never comes back. It's insane.
Okay, so I laughed a lot in my theater. Apparently that was not cool, by the way. Everyone was taking it real seriously, and I was like,
okay,
how can anyone
weirdly,
take this seriously?
I do want to say, I was going to ask this at the end, I'll ask now. Have you ever seen a movie with a lower comedic batting average? This movie does so many jokes that then the characters, Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali, will laugh and be like, "That's wild, yo! You wild for that!" Just a
whiff.
Crickets. There was not a laugh in the theater except for the scene where the kid his pee get interrupted.
Yeah,
the lowest comedic batting average I've ever seen in a movie live.
Yeah, I laughed a lot at things that aren't supposed to be laughed at. Like, I think I got in trouble during that T-Rex scene because the fucking thing inflates, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, here it goes. We're gonna fucking get this girl chopped. Like, this whole
thing,
and
then falls down, and it
pops up, falls down, vanish. I'm like, I just started.
The T-Rex
laughing.
is like,
how is that possible?
Yeah, mind freak.
Mind freak.
Yeah, you're like, that thing's fucking huge.
It's huge.
You would hear it. It's not subtle. It's not doing subterfuge and ninjutsu.
Also, it's not like an animal who goes, that seems like a fake out. And I'll swim away. I'm like, no. It's an animal that reacts to everything around it.
Yeah, this is not the clever girl paradox. This is the I'm going to get your ass immediately. It's so...
I know, we had...
The Quetzalcoatl scene is so embarrassingly lame. It should... But again, here, let's talk about this. So we've talked a lot about how there's no character worth watching. No character is ever in danger. It almost has like that throwback trope to where you're like, oh, so women and non-white foreigners, they're the ones that are going to get eaten. And then, of course, the greedy guy, because it's a movie. You're like, that's not the greatest flavor I've ever seen in a movie in 2025.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the dinosaurs. I will say,
what dinosaurs?
If there was a defender in this movie, some of the dinosaur set pieces, they really went hard on the Mosasaurus Spinosaurus scene.
Mosasaurus, yeah, sure.
Quetzalcoatl, the Titanosaurus. We had a T-Rex scene. And then at the end, we had these two, like, lame birds that are, like, half, like, bald-headed dinosaurs. And then we have the D-Rex, which apparently is supposed to look like a Rancor. But, my God, what an absolutely lame addition. Like, the worst dinosaur we've ever had in the franchise. So we have the worst character, which is the boyfriend, and the worst dinosaur. Here's the thing. The dinosaurs in the first T-Rex, to me, were serving the purpose of, one, that insane wonder. Oh, my God. Because, again, we were watching that in the sense of, holy shit, look what they can do with computer animation. So it had this double layering effect on audiences that I understand we probably can't recreate anymore. But the dinosaurs were also there as these kind of arbiters of the moral lesson, right? Of this, if you fuck around, you'll fall out. That you find out there's the lawyer gets eaten on the shitter. Sam Jackson trying to be a good guy gets eaten. Nedry gets got trying to escape. The dinosaurs in this now feel like they're in on the game, if that makes sense. Like Scarlett Johansson, like leaning over the edge, almost getting snapped and like crunching up. And there are moments where it's trying to be thrilling, but what do you make? What is the difference? Because I think if you were going to argue, this movie does the dinosaurs well, why do they seem to have no teeth anymore?
I think because there weren't that many dinosaurs, to be honest with you. Like, other than the Mosasaurus, which is the set piece you actually want to see.
And we only see a raptor get eaten by that bird, right?
Yeah. There's instead we get a repeat of the kitchen scene from the first one with the weird like flying raptor birds or whatever they are.
That gas station sequence was so bad.
This is so dumb. I think the thing that I think the stakes for the movie were just so fucking low. Like I think that's what it is. Like there's no. First off, you have this family, and you're like, well, I would like the family to survive, but also this dad is terrible, and maybe he needs to learn a valuable lesson about not crossing the ocean in his dinghy. How about that? I would start there.
It sounded like he was a divorce guy, and you're like, I completely understand that.
When you,
this makes perfect sense now.
Are you just trying to prove to be like the cool dad? I'm like, nope, sorry, guy. That's just not going to work. The stakes for the movie literally were like, oh, man, we can knock 20 years off heart disease. Okay. We need 3 of these. We need these huge animals, fluids. Okay. Also, we have this gun that just like sucks it out of them and then like whirligigs it down. I'm like, wow. Like, okay. So what happens if you like, okay, so like the one that swims in the ocean, it could barely feel. I'm like, this is just, guys, like, it doesn't matter. Who gives a shit about
aside from how stupid the plot is, what about the dinosaur? Because it does feel like as audiences, we're proving the movie right. We're at this point where it's like, you know what? We actually are bored of the dinosaurs. I'll tell you what it really is. Like, what happened?
I'll tell you what it really is it's CGI. Like, really, like, it's CGI. Because we're at this point now where they're like, well, we don't need to spend all this money on hard visual effects, where it's like, oh, we have an animatronic T-Rex that's gonna like here's my example. We have the Universal passes for the summer because like it was recommended. So Henry loves that fucking Jurassic World ride. And like the story is whatever, like that's not what you're there for. You're there to get fucking thrilled. All of that shit is animatronic still. That still gets my fucking heart racing. Like, it's an animatronic. It is a thing in your face. It feels real still in a lot of ways. And I think that's the biggest problem.
The T-Rex eye looking in the Jeep, that coming through the window, even something as small as Nedry's interaction with the Dilophosaurus, Grant laying on the
There's nothing that feels
one
real.
of the most endearing. Nothing feels real. That's like, a great point.
Like Jonathan,
because they have
like
CG
Jonathan
dinosaurs in the first one, right? The first time we see the Brachiosaurus, it's CG and it's still wonderful. Yeah. But you know what? You have Jonathan to layer in, even though the fucking Velociraptor, the claws and shit, right? Like this, and I think it's the point too. Once you realize that they're just not going to kill the family, like this and that. And then at the end, you're like, Mahershala Ali, are they really just cleansing all of the non-white people? This is wild. And thank God he comes back. I was like, that would be an insane decision to make. But it's I think maybe you're onto it, though, is there's just nothing feels...
There's no danger. There's no danger. Like, even with like, okay... when Grant is like feeling the Triceratops, like you're like, there is this sense of like, holy shit, if that thing like freaks out all of a sudden, Grant's done. He's fucking squashed.
Yeah, he's gonna get it.
That sense of danger is just gone because you know everything is CG. And granted, like they didn't set it up very well because like basically as soon as these idiots survived their boating trip across the Atlantic, you're like, I mean, no one's going to die in this movie unless they have absolutely no name associated with their character at all. I also could not tell you the names of any of these characters.
No, I couldn't tell you a single character name. That's a big problem. But again, I think it's... Here, okay, let's get back to... So we kind of talked about the characters. The dinosaurs feel toothless. The world building itself is a huge problem in this franchise at this point. Because again... We can kill dinosaurs easy. We're not leaving dinosaurs to randomly attack boats. We're not losing valuable property to dinosaurs. We can easily fucking kill with weaponry. Easily. Mm-hmm. Here's some problems with this movie, right? The whole, like, they're in a local zoo feels like it kind of defeats the point of the franchise that this is like out in like a zone where they shouldn't be. I thought after San Diego in part 2 we had learned this lesson. Here's a more reasonable point.
If someone went to a government, franchise is about no lessons learned.
No lessons learned. If someone went to a government and said, "Hey, I can save people's lives by like 20 years. You guys can get more taxes, stronger workers, right? All the exploitative shit the governments love to hear about us, right?"
Cool, no
and
problem.
They're just like, all we need to do is go get some samples for these dinosaurs. Every government on Earth would be like, dope, let's send in SEAL Team 6. Like, what are we talking about here? This is not, they're not saying, you know what? Those dinosaurs stay there. We can't send people because it's too dangerous. You know what governments do all the time? Exploit the shit out of people in dangerous ways and use us up. These dinosaurs would have been harvested 1,000-fold. This is ridiculous. So the base plot of the movie I can't even care about.
Well, I think that's I think that's what it is. Like, there are so many attempts to make me care about certain things in the movie that I'm just like, hey guys, that's not how this is going to work. I think the most criminal one, really.
Well, there are so many attempts to tell you should care, never actually doing the work of earning it. Yeah.
The most criminal one being when the basically when the Mosasaurus and the Spinosaurus drift them into the island, essentially. So this happens, and the girl almost gets thrown off the boat, and Rupert Friend's character is like trying to prevent her from calling an SOS, and you're like, okay, that's fine, whatever. And it's this horribly paced moment where she's about to fall. She basically gets rocked off the side of the boat, and she's about to fall off the boat, and he's like, wait a second, I could just let her die and it'll be totally cool. I'm like, okay, so
also, I was like,
we're going to do a completely unearned moment.
Yeah, are these things dangerous or not? Because, like, 8 people just swim to shore, and then the one French lady gets eaten because she's trying to push 1,000-pound fucking package
by herself. Cool, guys. Good teamwork.
Yeah. Sick. And then we don't even see her really get eaten. She's like, because they do that thing where they love to do where they go behind the crate, and then she gets eaten behind, and we just see blood and, like, her getting dragged out a little. And I was like, so wait, they're just on the beach sunning, and they're like, dinner's up, but they don't catch the other 10 people that swim the shore. And then
it's just here's
a moment where you're just like, oh god, no, we are in dangerous waters, pun intended, right? When we get to rich guy just finds a gun in the jungle, you're like, oh, there's no way this matters. There's no way this is gonna go good. And yeah, it's just it's fucking tough, man. So you had an interesting idea. We kind of skipped it because we have not been sticking to our things because we're so mad. You had talked about if you were going to address how to fix this franchise. Let's say they said, let's do it one more time. What would your notes be as to what? I think we've gotten so far from the core of what made Jurassic Park great. What are the tenets that you think are not being followed in these films?
Well, I think we've talked. I mean, I've said that. Like, we're just not talking about what makes the story, and like, for me, we're just not doing anything that's interesting anymore about what makes dinosaurs interesting in a modern world. Like the concept, the Michael Crichton formula. Like, Michael Crichton wrote a ton of science fiction books. Yeah. And the Michael Crichton formula works because I'll give you the example that no one ever gives, which is bizarre to me, which Westworld. Westworld's a great example. Westworld was Michael Crichton's like first shot out the bow of this. And the movie is fine. Like, I know the show's a lot more popular, obviously, because it's a TV show. They were able to explore a lot of pieces to it. But, like, basically, it's a complex system built inside a simple one that doesn't work. This always revolves around chaos. And I think that's, like, a really key component. So for me, if I was going to, this movie made $300 million over the weekend, so it doesn't fucking matter.
It'll make its money.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Let's say it was a huge flop and everyone's like, holy shit, what are we going to do? And if I was a Universal exec, I would walk into a meeting on Monday. I'm like, I'm going to tell you why this doesn't work. I'd say, listen to this podcast first, and they'll tell you all the problems that we came up. And the second thing I'd say is like, I think we need to make a call to HBO and say, hey, would you guys be interested in us do it, or Peacock or whatever fucking streaming service? I think taking it back to the book and doing like something in the vein of like the way doing a mini series, I think actually would be
right
more interesting.
So they have like,
because
my
the
son's
book
really like Jurassic Park Camp Cretaceous. So they're doing this. It's kind of like what happened with Star Wars, where like the movies lost their way and shows seemingly for children came in and fixed a lot of it and were filling the voids.
Yeah.
That Camp Cretaceous show was a really fun, because again, it's just kids who like go there as like these genetic campers. And then, of course, all hell breaks loose and they got to like forge ahead. But it has good characters, right? The dinosaur, the Carnotaurus, and the Barazenosaurus, whatever. They're Therizinosaurs. They're all used to really cool effect.
I think...
Again, I do wonder, are we at a lysine contingency level problem, though? Because at some point, they're just adding up receipts. And the question I would ask, right, if we're being unfair in our myriad of attacks on this movie, is the math now... It's hard to have the ethical debate about the dinosaurs when we live in a world where we're all okay with the AI takeover. We value ourselves and our humanity less than ever. It feels like if things were cloning, we all just agree now. Yeah, we'd exploit the shit out of it. I don't think we have any optimism left as a species. And can you, for 7 to 8 movies, keep asking the same question? Should we have brought dinosaurs back? Is that ship just sailed, and it's unfair of us to keep expecting them to have something to say?
I think that's why, going back to the beginning, going to the book, because the book, by the way, is very different than the movie. Like, the movie has great stakes because it's a movie, and Spielberg understood that. This is the guy who did Jaws. Makes total sense. The book is very different, has a lot more, there's a lot more plotting, like, the B plot of, like, the whole point of Grant and the kids getting back to the visitor center in the book is so that they can actually warn the mainland that a ship left with velociraptors on it. Yeah. So, like, there's other stakes to make what I think would be a pretty compelling, like, HBO miniseries. Something like that. Something in that vein where you're straight adapting the book. Because also a lot of the characters, like, we got rid of a lot of characters. Like, Donald Gennaro in the book is a lot more heroic. The whole concept of, like, there's other places to go besides the park. You can cut back and forth between, like, Biosyn, which is, like, Dodson's thing. Like, those kinds of things you can do in a TV show and take the time. Like, there is just, there's meat on the bones. You just have to go back to the original thing.
Godzilla just did their show, Monarch. Here's the thing. I don't even know if it needs to be a TV series. That's an interesting idea. What it has to do, you have to find a question to ask at the core of this franchise again. We're no longer doing the should we, shouldn't we. We know we fucking shouldn't. They did. What is the next version of... Because that's the thing. These are so far gone. These are just like childhood fantasy movies now. Action fantasies. Yeah. The science fiction element at the core of Jurassic Park is gone. We might have some monsters in tubes. We might have a monster with a fucking bulbous Peyton Manning forehead skulking around. We're no longer doing a science fiction film. A science fiction film has to ask us what the decisions being made in this movie, how that will change our lives. So who's the character who comes in now as the new John Hammond, who thinks that these dinosaurs can somehow be exploited, used, extrapolated? And again, it's not just like maybe heart medicine, maybe this. There has to be some character who can take that John Hammond mantle and have a firm core that we as modern people would say, ooh, I see his argument.
They tried really hard. Like, I think, like, they tried really hard on Jurassic World to make Henry Wu that person because, like, but Henry Wu basically just did this corporate shill routine where he's like, well, you said you wanted something more exciting, so I made it invisible at an amusement park. I'm like, cool, that's dumb. Thank you for that. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, yeah, by the time you start adding Chris Pratt has Jedi powers and shit in, like, it gets tough.
But it's like, I think that the allegory now has to be about whatever our expectations or whatever the run up to the singularity is at this point. Because really,
yeah,
in 92, the allegory was about, at that point we were much more engaged in like genetics and that kind of thing. I think that
but it kind of plays as a base level, like
world.
Yes, the original plays at just a base fear of technology is going to unleash unlimited amounts of things that we are unprepared for. Dinosaurs became this beautiful mascot for the fear and terror of ever escalating computer technology. That ship is fucking sailed. Dinosaurs we can kill with weapons easy. How do we... So to your point, what the biggest fears we have now are fake news, AI, generative AI that's making more fake news that our parents can't fucking tell the difference for. People intentionally flooding the zone. Like all of a sudden we're back. We just forgot like the propaganda lessons. And we're like a more propagandized people than we've ever been. So there's a version of this somewhere. I don't know how easy dinosaurs.
I don't know what it is.
All of that.
I just know that know that for the modern audience, I think getting people to the movie theaters is important, but I just wouldn't. This isn't the way I would do it. So I think for me, for Jurassic Park, the place to put it is like back to where it started, which is more of a straight adaptation of the novel, which is a little more grounded, has a little more, talk in it, but also has has more intrigue. And if you open that book and re-examine the novel, I'm sure the secret sauce for what the allegory is now is in there somewhere. I just don't know what it is because I didn't read it last night. That's all.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. It does feel like this franchise is the Brachiosaurus, but again, not to kids, but to us. I think this is now going to become a thing we take our kids to, and eventually it'll be Jurassic Park 12, and our kids will be grown-ups, and they'll be like, I don't want to go. And you'll be like, oh, well, fuck. But someone else, maybe I'll take my grandkids to one of these. Well, I did. By the way, the title. You asked me to do something very interesting. I wanted to get to it. We've been running long.
Sure.
Just bitching and bitching. You said, what if we rebooted this? Who would we recast to be the core Jurassic Park characters? I was wondering if you came up with any ideas. Because I think I got a pretty solid list.
So if I was going to do... So mine is based on doing like an HBO miniseries. Like a Chernobyl or like a Last of Us type thing. Something like that. So that's my I have three of the three, like, so Alan Grant, Ellie Sattler, and Ian Malcolm, I have three per character that I would say would probably work. Based on, like, me reading the book, knowing the book, and, like, if they were going to do an adaptation of it, who I would see as that person. So, I'd like to hear yours. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
So for Alan Grant, in the original book is... super friendly for children, super friendly to kids. He's like a barrel-chested 40-year-old dude. Like, again, it's the complete opposite of Sam Neill. So I actually said there's two actors that I think would fit that bill, which would be Henry Cavill or Josh Holloway for TV would work. Because we've seen Henry Cavill do TV. Oh,
you're going like fucking beefcakes. You're going big beefcakes. Okay.
Well, we're either doing... So, and then I have one against type, which would be Oscar Isaac. Because he could do this really easily.
Yes. So, okay. So he was on mine for Grant too, but I was like, I feel like with him and Pedro Pascal, who come to mind, they're movie stars. Well, I don't want anyone who's a big movie star in my main three, which is tough.
Oscar Isaac's been Moon Knight, so he's not that big a movie star.
I think he's a big movie star, though.
I mean, he's a movie star to me. He's a fantastic actor.
Yeah, when you try to not have the big movie star, it does get a lot harder.
It does.
Okay.
I think for me, Oscar Isaac is a good against
obvious. So, like, the easy one for me was Malcolm, right? No shortage of awesome Ian Malcolms. For me, it's got to be Matt Smith or Walton Goggins.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
you take one of those two and make him just the coolest fucking, anarchist scientist. I was like, okay, I could buy that. Right?
Okay.
For Grant, I went with Benedict Cumberbatch. Ewan McGregor,
Okay.
I kind of like for this. Right? Like a post-Doctor Sleep, Ewan McGregor.
Sure.
And then, God.
I almost had Benedict Cumberbatch for Grant.
Who was the fucking dude from the new fucking Speak No Evil? James McAvoy. I think he'd be a good Grant, too.
I almost put him on my list, too.
Patrick Wilson, because I want a guy who, you know him, but he's not going to dominate with movie star energy.
He needs to be a little older. He needs to be a little older.
Like Patrick Wilson in The Conjuring could be like an Alan Grant parallel. So I'm looking for someone like that for my Grant.
All right, that's good. I think for me,
and then for my Sadler, I only had one choice for Sadler, and it's Elizabeth Moss. I wouldn't look anywhere else. It would just be Elizabeth Moss. How dare you? I just want that performance from the Invisible Man in my Jurassic Park.
Actually, my Ellie Sattler, I would cast Io Debris from Bear. She'd be great.
From what? From the Bear?
She's been on from the Bear. Io Debris. She'd be great.
I don't even know who that is, so I cannot weigh in.
You've watched The Bear, correct?
It doesn't feel as... No, I've never seen an episode of The Bear.
Oh, okay.
I've seen that fucking dinner scene with John Bernthal 50 times on TikTok. It's great.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Sense. I feel like I have enough anxiety in my life. That show seems stressful as fuck to me. So I'm not...
People always say that.
Watch a lot
people always say that when they haven't watched it. It's just because the stuff that makes it to TikTok and Instagram
it's just
is
people yelling and freaking the fuck out. No, here's the fun one, though. Who's your Malcolm?
Okay, I had a toss-up between Donald Glover and Lakeith Stanfield. I think they would fucking be...
Oh, dude, I like Lakeith. That's fucking great, dude.
He would be so good.
Woo! Okay, I like
sitting there
that.
spitting facts.
Okay, so I'm looking now. I would go
love that.
Walton Goggins, James McAvoy, Elizabeth Moss. I think I'm crushing you, but yours is good. So you're going Lakeith. Who's your Grant?
I'm going Lakeith. Grant, I think, would end up being Oscar Isaac, because I love Oscar.
Isaac,
I think he'd be a great Oscar. And then Io Debris.
That's pretty good. Okay, so here's the fun one. You're John Hammond. I wrote down 4, right? One of them's a real long shot, but would be perfect for me.
I wrote down 3.
Okay, go ahead. Who do you have for Hammond?
Okay, I wrote down 3. I think the one who wins. I'm gonna say all 3, and then I'll say the one who wins. So the 3 that I had was Hugo Weaving, Ralph Fiennes, and Gary Oldman. But I think Gary Oldman would be the one.
That's pretty good. So I went Nick Cage, Russell Crowe, Paul Giamatti, and then
nice
shot in the dark, aging, seems a little European, Christopher Lambert.
Ooh, nice. That is good too. Shit.
Have you never wanted to see a dinosaur? I just rewatched Mortal Kombat with the kids, and him being Raiden is still one of the most offensive but hilarious things I've ever seen.
It's so good.
So Christopher Lambert popped in mind in that all-white Dr. Moreau suit. I don't know. Nice. I'm very interested. These are good. So I think I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to settle on Paul Giamatti is my Hammond.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Because Nick Cage is just, Hammond. Once you put Nick Cage in it, it's like, it's a Nick Cage thing. I feel like
it becomes a Nick Cage movie.
Yeah, it's a little too powerhouse. And yeah, I don't know. A pre-cancellation TJ Miller is my Nedry. I don't know. I went on a whole long
I couldn't settle on a Nedry. I did Jimmy O Yang or John Cho for Henry Wu. That'd be good. John Cho would be a really good Henry Wu. I thought Christoph Waltz from Muldoon would be sweet.
Muldoon? He's not badass enough. Yeah. He's not badass
he's so
enough.
Badass enough.
No. Who's
I
the
had
actor
John
from?
I had John Hamm for
Paul
Dodson.
Walter Hauser, that's your Nedry? Yes. Paul Walter Hauser's your Nedry.
He's so good.
Yeah, you need a bad motherfucker. Stephen Lang could be my Muldoon.
Oh, Stephen Lang would be a good Muldoon, yeah.
Yeah, you got to have like a bad motherfucker for Muldoon.
I had John Hamm for Dodson because he's just the perfect corporate shill, you know?
We'll start to wrap this up because, as you can see, we're more interested in just fake casting the old movie.
This is so much more fun. This is so much more fun than talking about this movie.
This movie is an abomination unless you're a child. Then it's probably super fun. So I did have the Jurassic Park movie rankings just to give you a hint. So Jurassic Park 1 is clearly the best. I personally think Jurassic World is probably next. Because they added the mosasaur, it had some fun elements. Seemed okay. But again, only at a 2.5 to a 3, so not high bars to leap. Then I went Jurassic Park 3 because we had the Spinosaurus and William H. Macy.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom because we had that terrifying horror movie slasher scene with the Indoraptor. Rest of the movie, dog shit, unwatchable. Jurassic Park The Lost World, the eco-terrorism with Vince Vaughn. Go back and watch the medical camper tilted over the cliff and watch one of the worst, most insanely staged scenes of all time. You can't believe this was a Steven Spielberg movie. It's so insanely fucking bad.
So good.
Then I went with Jurassic World.
So much fun.
Yeah, Jurassic World Dominion fucking sucks. Anytime you're in the franchise where you're like, maybe Locust. See The Exorcist 2. You're going the wrong direction. You're doing a terrible job. And then Jurassic World Rebirth, because if you don't care, why the fuck would I care? This is the worst Jurassic Park movie. But, you know, to a kid, it could be the best. I don't know. It's sad to me that the thing I loved as a kid is still happening, but I'm not invited anymore. It's like when you look at the kids on the playground, you're like, remember when I could play hot lava tag on the monkey bars? And now I'm this. Yep. That's what Jurassic World is doing to me. Yeah, this movie fucking sucked, and I feel bad.
I feel like I can go with those rankings, although I'd probably put The Lost World a little higher just because of entertainment value.
Yeah, I do.
But it doesn't really
I
matter.
hope people
Beyond
made
the first
it this
one,
far into the episode to hear us talk about our hilarious castings. All right, Alex, what's the most messed up moment in Jurassic World Rebirth?
Honestly, there's just too many to choose from. I guess I'd probably just go with the fact that the father boating across the Atlantic Ocean thinking there was going to be no problem with that at all with his children and their boyfriend who totally banged on the boat too.
Yeah.
Yuck.
Just the whole setup of this family, the fact that he's into nautical nonsense, it doesn't realize he's getting a tad close to the island of murder dinosaurs is fucking wild. He's a bad dad. He's divorced for a reason. I'll piggyback off that. The boyfriend in this movie is the worst character in the history of the franchise. He's so hateable. He's so unlikable. Is that guy
an influencer or something?
I don't know. I think he's one of those, because my kids thought he was funny. I think he just speaks shithead child. So I just hated his guts, but maybe to a younger audience he's cool. But he's just like, yeah, I'm lazy. I'm a loser. I ask a child to smoke weed with me. I banged this guy's daughter on his boat so that everyone will smell my nut in this tiny cabin. I was like, he just sucks. The fact he jumps in the ocean doesn't save him. There's the scene where he's mid-pee. And two raptors are coming up on him, and then one of them gets eaten, and he holds. And then as the raptor gets eaten, he kind of freezes, turns around, nothing's there, and the pee stream starts again. In a movie that is so childish and stupid, I guess this passes for a messed up moment. That would be wild. I will say what I really want to put a pin in, the fact that this kid does not get eaten is exactly why Jurassic World Rebirth fucking sucks. Fucking sucks. Soul-crushingly bad. Yeah. Why put character like this who's so lame in a movie to not get eaten? Criminal. That's it. I don't want to talk about this film anymore. No. If you want to watch our movie, then I'm sure David Cope and the rest of them will fucking lambaste. Help us make Mr. Cream Jean's hidey hole. Go to Indie. It does feel weird to lay out all these cinematic critiques of a movie and then say, help our movie, Mr. Cream Jean's hidey hole. On Indiegogo, you got to type it in because they're cowards. You can find the link through all Misfit Parade social. Go to the Messed Up Movies Podcast Patreon page. Support the show. Help us grow the show. Thank you for the new people we've seen coming in. Thank you. Misfit Parade on YouTube.
Love you guys.
Subscribe there. We're easy to get a hold of. 5-star ratings and reviews. Let a friend know what we up to.
Please.